But most importantly, really most importantly for me, is I want this space to feel safe and joyful and nurturing, and that you're not alone, that none of us are alone, that we are all connected because we're made up of energy. And if you look at quantum physics, neuroscience, nothing is solid, everything's vibrating. And we're all connected from the very beginning, from a starburst. So we are going to, in this space, connect with the highest of frequencies and intentions, and nurture each other and help each other. Hi there, I'm Sandi Serling, your host of Fear Unzipped. And I thought I would give you a little bit of background about me. Why am I doing this podcast? There are a gazillion podcasts out there, so why would I even entertain the idea? I have asked myself that question, I can tell you. But it came to me, it actually came through me, and it was something that I was kind of guided to do. And I can't deny that. There were so many signs. There was so much pushing me in this direction. And also, it's a topic that is near and dear to my heart because I've lived with fear a good portion of my life. So it started when I was very, very young. I had anxiety. Well, I would say for at least 5 decades of my life. And it was sometimes debilitating, sometimes catapulting. I ended up having a successful PR business in the entertainment industry. I worked a lot on sets in Hollywood. I loved it. I loved my clients. I did get to a point with my clients where one day I said, I only want to work with people who are huggable, because I was finding egos were getting in the way of some people. And that worked so brilliantly for me. I'm still friends with my clients from the past. It was a beautiful, beautiful experience for me. But all that time I had anxiety, and it would sometimes be so debilitating that I would go through a paralysis. And I would sometimes tell people, well, I'm just the happiest depressed person you're ever going to meet. I had a great facade of, being happy, and I was, in many ways, I was happy, but I would have very, very high highs and very low lows, and the lows were kind of taking over the highs. And about 12 years ago, both my parents passed away. It was 4 months apart, and it was devastating. They were older, but it was still devastating. And somebody said to me, well, now you're an orphan. And that just hit me. That just really hit me hard. And I thought, okay, I'm not feeling great right now. I have a beautiful family. It's not that, it's that my parents were a really important part of my life. And I decided I need to learn how my brain works, because I didn't want to start taking anything to make me feel better. I wanted to know. I've always been a very, very, very curious person. I've always been interested in how things work and very much interested in metaphysics, but I didn't quite understand what metaphysics were at the time. So I met somebody who was trained in neuroscience, and I said to them, if I do your PR for you, will you teach me all that you know about neuroscience? And that's exactly what happened. And I learned how the brain works. I learned how there's neuroplasticity, that we can change the brain, which was just a thrilling thing for me to understand. This is not something that happens overnight. This is something that I have found you have to really want. And in the process of doing this, in fact, there's a quote that I love that Joseph Campbell says. He says, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasures you seek. And that is so true, because all the fears that I had ended up being not really fearful at all. I wasn't fearful. Once I faced them, once I entered that cave, I thought, wait a minute, this isn't scary. This isn't scary at all. Anyway, so that was a big part of this evolution. And when this podcast came to be, I was in meditation. And when I say meditation, I don't really sit for long periods of time and quiet my brain. Sometimes I do, but lots of times meditation for me is walking out in nature, because that's my go-to place. Talking to a tree, hugging a tree, staring at a leaf, looking at the squirrels and crows, big compadres of mine. I do that a lot, talk to the squirrels and crows, and they actually do talk back. And I went out there one day and it dawned on me, this thought came into my mind, that what is the biggest thing that holds us back? And what's the biggest thing that holds me back? Of being who I'm supposed to be. Because I've always known there's something I'm supposed to be doing. I loved my work, but I always knew there was something more. But fear definitely got in the way. And so I wouldn't explore that. But I was exploring. I was going into meditation. My mind was open. I was in the present moment. And I heard, you need to talk about fear. And I also heard the name of the podcast is Fear Unzipped. And I said at that moment, wait a minute, I don't want to put fear in the title of a podcast, because right there, I'm eliciting fear. I'm putting fear. And they said, no. Fear is a very key word, because you're going to transmute it. You're going to find a space that is going to be safe. It's going to be nurturing. It's going to be like a warm blanket around people. And you're going to find a way to heal. You're going to heal yourself. You're going to heal guests. You're going to heal a community, but you're all going to do it together. Nobody is better than the other. We're all in a community to heal together. And I just thought, okay, well, this sounds really interesting. I, as a publicist in the past, was always behind the camera. Loved it. Loved that. Loved putting my clients up front. This is a little different for me because I am up front. I'm talking about things that I have not shared before. My intuitive abilities, my mediumship abilities that I've had all my life, but really came to the forefront when I got into neuroscience. It's interesting when you start clearing your mind of angst, of stress, of fear, and you're in the present moment, all of a sudden your intuition comes flying in. And when I say flying, I mean, I had guides talking to me. They introduced themselves to me. I had conversations going on in nature with trees, with animals. Things would just start pouring into me. When it first happened, of course, I thought, okay, Sandi, you're making all this up. I really, really thought, yeah, this is a good story. You're making it up. And I started to journal and I started to write it down. And then I realized that some of the information that's coming into me is information that I actually would not know. I wouldn't really say to myself, but also the way it came in as a whisper. So it came in really quickly and left, and there was no judgment in it. And that's how I knew that it was coming from my guides or elsewhere, and from a higher frequency and higher intent, because it wasn't judging me. It wasn't saying, Sandi, you can't do this. You're not capable. There's so many other people that are more capable. No, it was just beautiful messaging that came through. And that's something that I do like to share with people, that when you get a message that comes through that has no judgment in it, that is coming from a higher place, and your higher self, your guides, source, whatever you call that space. I'm not a religious person, so I don't usually use words like God, because in the past, God was connected to some sort of a religion. I absolutely respect people that use it, and I honor it, and I think it's beautiful. But I usually say higher self, and I know that it's a higher frequency. So that started happening, and that started happening about 12 years ago. And it got, the more and more present I became, the more and more it would come in. Now, I do have to share with you that I am not always in the present moment. I mean, not even close. That I too will have mind chatter. I used to have it all the time. It used to come in all the time. I'd be talking to myself. I'd be talking out loud. My husband would say, "Are you talking to yourself again?" And I'd go, "Oh, yeah, yes, I am." Because I would try to sort conversations out, or conversations where there might be conflict. I try to sort those out. And I would say it out loud. Now I find I don't get triggered as easily at all. I love Michael Singer, who wrote one of my favorite books called The Untethered Soul. It was life-changing for me. And I can tell you 3 books that were life-changing for me. One was Brian Weiss's Many Lives, Many Masters, and I have several guests coming on Fear Unzipped that were trained personally by Brian Weiss, Dr. Brian Weiss. The other, as I said, was Michael Singer, Many Lives, Many Masters. And the third was a more recent one, and it's by a woman by the name of Suzanne Giesemann. She's actually a guest. Her interview, I think, will blow you away. She has an incredible story, going very, very much from left brain into becoming one of the top spiritual leaders in the world. She's actually listed as one of the 100 top spiritual leaders in the world. And her book is called Wolf's Message. Highly recommend reading it. It's about somebody who had passed. His name was Wolf, and all the signs that he brought in. In fact, I have a connection to Wolf after reading that book. I have a connection, which you will hear about in my interview with Suzanne, that is pretty magical. In fact, some would say unbelievable. In fact, a lot of this, I would say, is magic, because I don't understand how it works, but it truly is magic. To make this space even more beautiful, I asked Katie Samwell, who's also going to be a guest. I asked Katie Samwell, who's a high frequency musician, gorgeous voice, gorgeous connection to high frequencies. I asked her if she would create the open and close for Fear Unzipped. And I told her I wanted to be a nurturing, very safe space, that the minute people come in, that you feel like you're in a community. I'm going to tell you right now, this is not a space that is going to provide additional fear to you. You're not going to hear controversy. You're not going to hear future predictions that could scare you. I don't want that space. We have enough of that. We don't need that. I don't want that. And that's not going to be in this space. But it is going to open your mind. So when you come into the space, you hear the music, you're already going to be in a space of safety, because Katie, oh, her music is beautiful. She created it specifically for the person that I am and for the space that I wanted to create. And I'm very excited about that. But we're going to dive into things which Michael Singer calls samskaras. Samskaras is energy, are energies that are stuck inside of you that didn't get the opportunity to transmute. So let's say you broke up in a relationship 10 years ago, but you still, and maybe that person drove a certain color car. And every time you see that color car, you get kind of like a, oh gosh, you know, like a trigger inside that doesn't feel well. Well, that's a samskara that's still inside you. We are going to try to unravel those samskaras, to loosen them, to vaporize them, to help us get rid of them, to free ourselves, to find freedom. This is what I've dreamt about, is having freedom from anxiety, from fear, from stress, and to just catapult myself forward. Now, I did do it. I ride a motorcycle, which went against everything that I had, because I was very anxious, but I learned how to ride a motorcycle because I really, really wanted to. And I got past that. I jumped out of a perfectly good plane. I love that. That experience was incredible. So I have done some pretty, I think, exciting things, adventurous things, and I do love adventure. But when it comes to putting myself out there in this podcast and speaking my truth, and knowing the way the internet works, and knowing I'm going to be hearing things from people that are not going to be kind, I'm sure. That is unsettling, but this podcast is so important to me. This message is so important to me. And the guests that I have on this podcast are going to change your life. They've changed mine. And I just know they're going to change your life. They're going to provide you with strategies to get through fear or stress. If you have an instant of fear and stress, they are going to help you and guide you through that. You're going to have a quick little strategy, like a breathing technique or a way to get into the present moment or a way to stop mind chatter. There's going to be so much that you're going to be given. But most importantly, really most importantly for me, is I want this space to feel safe and joyful and nurturing, and that you're not alone, that none of us are alone, that we are all connected because we're made up of energy. And if you look at quantum physics, neuroscience, nothing is solid. Everything is vibrating. So my body is not solid. The desk I'm sitting at is not solid. The monitor I'm looking at is not solid. Everything's vibrating. And we're all connected. And we're all connected from the very beginning, from a starburst. So we are going to, in this space, connect with the highest of frequencies and intentions, and nurture each other and help each other. And I want you to share your thoughts. I want you to share, what are your stresses? What's your anxiety? How did you get over your anxiety? I want you to share all that. And we have a website. There's a space there that you can ask questions to guests. You can share your stories. I would like to share those on Fear Unzipped. I really want this to be your space. This is not my space. This is our space. I feel very, very strong about that. There's so much ego out there. There's so much, especially in this day and age with what's happening in the world, that this is a shared space. Nobody's better than the other. We all have something brilliant to add to the mix. We wouldn't be here if we didn't have something to add to humanity. This is our time. Energies are shifting. As you know, energies are shifting wildly. If you don't have tools to kind of get through that, it can be very, very disconcerting. It can take you it can knock your socks off. And you might feel like, oh God, I can't hold on. I can't hold on here. Well, we're going to do that because we're all going to be holding on to each other. And we're going to laugh a lot. We can't take this too seriously, guys, because life is too important to be taken seriously, which is one of my favorite quotes. We have to just dive in, learn what resonates with us. And there are going to be a lot of things that happen here. I have channelers coming on. They're going to go into channeling. You might look at that and go, okay, that's weird. That makes me uncomfortable. Then you know what? That's not for you. And that's okay. That's absolutely fine. So what you're going to do is maybe come to this space, listen to things that resonate with you. If they don't resonate, they're not for you. And that's fine. Absolutely fine. And say, nope, this isn't my space, or that particular guest isn't for me. But this guest is. This one I really resonate with. We're going to have everything from neuroscientists to researchers to psychologists to people, all realms of metaphysics, from intuitives to psychics to channelers to Akashic record readers to people who have experienced near-death experiences to past life regressionists. They're all going to be here. The thing that I have found incredibly exciting is that I've read a lot of books by neuroscientists, by psychologists. And right now you're going to find that the books that are coming out are marrying neuroscience with metaphysics. So they're talking about intuition. They're talking about visualization. They're talking about words that we've heard in metaphysics that separate us and them, right? Now it's coming together, because I think in the past you wouldn't have heard a neuroscientist say, listen to your intuition. practice visualization. That's really thrilling to me. And we're going to see where the intersection of that is. And I'm a real believer in signs. And I have received so many signs. The day I remember when this visualization or this thing came into me about Fear Unzipped during that, when I was outside and I was actually on a hike, and it came into me, I was supposed to do this podcast. After that, I did a couple readings. I was listening to a very popular podcast, and there were a couple people on there that I thought I thought they were really great. And I had not done any readings in years and years and years. So I set up a reading with two different people that didn't know each other. They were 6 months apart. In both readings, they told me I was going to be doing a podcast and kind of explain this healing space. They didn't know each other. They didn't know me. And I never said anything about doing a podcast. Those two people that I talked to are guests on this podcast, which I am so excited about. I was hiking the day after that I came up with this idea. It's called Fear Unzipped. And I hike in the mountains. I spend a lot of time in the desert, and I'm hiking the mountains. There's nobody around. All of a sudden, this couple starts walking towards me. They're the only ones in this space. And she's wearing a shirt that says in huge letters, Fear Less. I took a picture of it and I'll post it. And I went, oh my gosh, I have to tell you, yesterday I just decided I'm doing a podcast called Fear Unzipped about fear and how do we release our fears. And she said, oh my gosh, I have been on a journey of releasing my fears. I had to let go of a relationship. She went on and on about how she did it. She talked about modalities that she used to traverse that, to transmute her fear. She was coming from a really great space. And I thought, wow, well, there's a sign. And I've had so many signs. I've even said to my guides, I said, okay, if you're really with me and if you're really helping me here, I want a sign. And I want to have a sign that was not obvious. So I said, okay, I want to find an orange feather when I'm walking outside, an orange feather. Now, I do find crow feathers, which I do know are gifts from my crows because they do leave me gifts, like little shiny objects. I have a great relationship with them. But I wanted a orange feather. And I asked for it that morning. And I said, I want to know that you really, really are with me. Even though I've had signs, even though I know they're with me, I still sometimes go, yeah, but. So I asked for that sign. I go in my backyard, I'm walking around, and I thought, hey, I think I need to walk over here. And I walked behind these bushes, and underneath it, one of them was an orange feather. I will also post that. It was from a northern flicker. They have gorgeous, gorgeous orange feathers on their tail. And I just said, okay, all right. I get it. You're with me. I'm all in. I'm all in. And then I kept getting support to do the podcast. Now, I've never done a podcast or a podcast like this before. It doesn't come intuitively to me. The technology for it might seem really simple. It's been very complicated for me. I've had a lot of technology problems, and there are times I'll be in my office and I put my head in my hands. I go, oh no, I don't think I can do this. But I'm doing it. And it's turned out to be one of the most beautiful spaces I've ever encountered. I have recorded some interviews. I'm so excited about them and excited for you to hear them. But most importantly, please, please share your thoughts. I do want it to be a space of love. Love for me, I keep being told we are here to love and be loved. My guides tell me that over and over. They sign off after they communicate with me. They say, high five and higher, love is the answer always. And when I first heard it, and I heard high five and higher, I thought, high five. It took me 2 years to understand on a hike. I'm walking and I went, oh, you mean high density, high frequency, high five density, and higher. And they all started laughing, go, she gets it. She gets it. So high five and higher, love is the answer always. And so I want the exchange or comments. I want it to be a space of love. It's a time we need to really love each other. And there are so many differences. There are so many separate ways to separate us. It's like I said, them and us. And I actually, the other day, I got extremely triggered by something. It was actually from a friend who had I'm not sure how to say it, but had a thought that was polar opposite of something that I would ever think. And for me, it wasn't from the highest intent and of coming from love. And my whole body tightened up and she saw it. And I said, I'm sorry, I have to figure this out because this is something in me that is making me very uncomfortable right now. So I thought about it and I thought, okay, this was a test for me because there are people out there that are going to think very, very differently from me, have very different ideas than I have, but they're good people to the core. And I need to open up myself and listen and hear, why do you think that? Why do you go down that path? Because I'm going to learn something from it. So I called up my friend. I said, I want you to know how much I love you. And this was a really valuable thing that happened to me because I had to look at myself. And I want us to love each other. Come on, let's share the love. It's time. So we're entering Fear Unzipped. Oh, I have an incredible story to share with you in Suzanne Giesman's interview, where her guides came in and explained Fear Unzipped. And it's an imagery that it is going to blow your mind because I had to stop and gather my thoughts again because it was so huge. So there are little Easter eggs to look forward to in the interviews to follow. I just want to thank you. I want to thank you from my heart. I want to thank you profusely, wholeheartedly for joining me here. I'm in this with you. We're holding hands. We're jumping in. We're going to empower ourselves. We're going to lose a little bit of this fear. If we don't lose it all, we're actually going to dump some of it, some of this garbage that we're carrying around with us, and we're going to lighten our load. And I'm so excited that you're doing this with me because I couldn't do it without you. There's just no way I can do this without you. I need you. And I'm so happy you're here. I'm sending so much love. Love you all. Mwah. Love to you all.